Good morning, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're going to get going now. I look around this room and I feel really good about where U.S. Korea relations are headed, and that's thanks to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jonathan Corrado. I'm the policy director for the Korea Society. This is not the first time that the Korea Society has been here in Atlanta. We came here in 2010, and we were right here in the Commerce Club. And when our president, Tom Byrne, who's sitting right over there, and I'm going to introduce in just a minute, decided we need to get back on the road and do a national outreach program, we thought the first place that we need to come is right here in Atlanta. And we've been welcomed by a warmth, hospitality, and generosity that has really made us feel right at home. So we want to thank you all for that warm reception. We've been particularly delighted to see how many of you are dedicated to the same exact mission that we're doing up in New York City, and that is this: to promote awareness, understanding, and cooperation between the peoples of the U.S. and Korea. We've got a big morning. We've got a lot of speakers, so I'm going to try to be super brief. For the full bios of all of our speakers today, please reference the program books. What we'll be doing here is just an abbreviated version of that. I want to welcome to the stage our president, Tom Byrne, and I'll tell you a little bit about who he is. Tom joined the Korea Society in 2015. He was previously at Moody's Investor Services as a senior vice president and regional manager for sovereign risk in the Asia Pacific and Middle East regions. Tom currently teaches at Columbia University and Georgetown University. He first got to know Korea when he served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer. Please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Tom Byrne.
Well, thanks, Jonathan, and I'm very glad we have you to warm up the crowd. You always do a good job at that. And good morning, everyone. It's great to be back in Atlanta. I wasn't here in 2010, but I did come about almost 6 weeks ago or so, and I met Jay from the Chamber of Commerce to move this along. So today marks the culmination of an effort that has been in the works for some time. The Korea Society's National Outreach Program here in Atlanta is part of our new strategic plan adopted earlier this year, and as Jonathan mentioned, the rekindling of a national outreach effort made over 10 years ago. There have been critical developments since then in the U.S. Korea relationship, security-wise, diplomatically, and in economics especially. And in many ways, today also marks a beginning. It is the beginning of a closer, stronger relationship between the Korea Society and all of you. We are honored and delighted to share this room with a group of people who share our values and our conviction for spurring on the increasingly close and evolving relationship between the United States and Korea. I want to mention just a small collection of the people here in this room today who helped make this program possible. First of all, we are pleased to jointly produce today's program in very close cooperation with our partners at the Southeast U.S. Korea Chamber of Commerce. We would not have been able to do this without you. Special thanks to President Jae Kim, whom I think most of you know here, and who will give remarks later today, and also to Jim Whitcomb and Dan Usher for all you've done. And thanks so much to Pat Wilson, Commissioner for Georgia Department of Economic Development, and Unikim Director, Korea Investment, both of whom will speak during today's program. And to the whole Georgia Department of Economic Development, including Brittany Young, for your support, enthusiasm, and gold sponsorship of today's program. Thanks to Consulate General of Korea here in Atlanta, and especially to Consul General Yoonju Park. For your warmth, hospitality, and support. I'm looking forward to your remarks. Thanks to SK for their platinum support, and particularly Stephen Jong, Director and Head of External Affairs and Social Value for BK Battery Association, who will join the second panel this morning. Thanks to the Office of Senator John Ossoff, U.S. Senator for Georgia, for his video remarks describing his work on the U.S.-Korea relationship. And thanks so much to Scott Walker, the Director of the Office of Korea Affairs at the U.S. Department of State. We can't wait to hear your remarks, and thank you very much for making this trip down here to talk about the current state of U.S.-Korea diplomatic, security, and economic relations. I want to thank all of the other gold sponsors. Thank you, POSCO, Henry Dow. Good to see you again. The president of POSCO America for joining us today. And thanks very much to Delta Airlines for all their fantastic support and assistance. They literally helped us get here. We really appreciate you all. And we are excited to hear the insights of Athar Khan, Delta Airlines Director of International Specialty Sales. And thank you, Aprio, Auburn University, and Wells Fargo for your gold sponsorship. We really appreciate your support. Thanks very much to our silver sponsor, LS Superior Essex, and to our bronze sponsors, Hanwha Q-Cells and NFP. You have helped make this event a reality, and we are delighted that we can get to spend today with you. I would also like to mention some of our program speakers I have not mentioned yet. For our security and diplomacy panel, I want to thank our moderator, Ambassador Charles Shapiro, and our panelists, General Vincent K. Brooks and Major General Lee Kyung-gu. This is an important moment for the Alliance, and your insights are all second to none. So I know our audience is very eager for that discussion. And for our second panel, thanks to our moderator, Professor William Salsa, Stuart Contest, the president and CEO of Kia Georgia, as well as Athar Khan, Stephen Zhang, and Uni Kim, whom I mentioned earlier. Before I transition to Senator Ossoff's remarks, I would like to offer a few thoughts on the theme of today's discussion. This year marks the 65th anniversary of the Korea Society, a private organization incorporated in November 1957 in New York City, in large part by the efforts of General James A. Van Fleet, the longest-serving UN Forces commander during the Korean War. It is evident that everyone who has joined us here today, both the speakers and the audience, share our commitment to the statement of purpose adopted by James Van Fleet and other founders back in 1957, which is the essence of the Society's mission statement. So the statement of purpose reads, to further and continue the friendly relationship that has long existed between the American people and the people of Korea through mutual understanding and appreciation of their respective culture, aims, ideals, arts, sciences, and industries. And to that end, that their peoples may, through an ever closer cooperation, continue their contribution to the improvement of mankind. The U.S.-South Korea relationship has matured in ways and degrees that were impossible to discern back in 1957, just 4 years after the Armistice Agreement was signed, ending hostilities in the Korean War. The security alliance is stronger now than ever, and I believe will continue to adapt to the new challenges it faces from North Korea and geopolitical developments, not just regionally, but also globally. The alliance has matured into a global strategic partnership. Our first panel will cover the traditional security partnership. That's how it all started in 1954, right after the Korean War, when Congress ratified the Mutual Defense Treaty agreed between the two countries just months after the Armistice Agreement. I think that's very significant, particularly what's happening in Washington these days, is that Congress did ratify the treaty. And economically, the bilateral relationship has matured from one broadly characterized by dependency to partnership, one based on aid, initially matured into trade, which was highly contentious until the Chorus FTA came onto the scene about 10 years ago, and now to investment. Korean direct investment in the U.S., notably in the Southeast region of the U.S., and that is why the Korea Society and the Southeast U.S. Korea Chamber of Commerce are partnering here today. Some facts highlight the transformation in the bilateral economic relationship. In 1957, the year in which the Korea Society was established, 96% of Korea's fixed capital formation, that means domestic investment, was financed by aid imports, 98% of which were from the U.S. But now, more than six decades later, South Korean firms have invested a cumulative $62.4 billion in the U.S., almost twice the amount of U.S. direct investment in Korea through 2020, the most recent year that the U.S. Commerce Department has reported. However, in the past 2 years, we've seen a surge in Korean investment in strategic industries, helping to strengthen critical supply chains as well. What that number means is that in real terms, South Korean corporations support 94,500 jobs, high-paying ones, in the U.S. This is a clear win for the U.S. Worker and the IRS, which will collect more individual income taxes off these workers. but also for Korea as its corporations increase their global market shares.